Uh, then, dun, 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 we are going to start our talks. So, Nico, I will pass the microphone now to Nico. Nico is a host for Python Amsterdam. He is from Argentina, not from Buenos Aires, but from Argentina. Um, he has done a little bit of everything in his life, but mostly with computers. And recently he moved to Amsterdam to work in Optiver, having worked with Satellogic before, building spaceships using Python. Python in space! He's an active member of the Python Argentina community and also a host for Amsterdam right now. So welcome, Nico.
Hello, thank you. So let me try share my screen and see if this one works. Okay, just just a second because I want to see the chat. So cool. So I will have the chat here so you can write to me. So usually I have a problem that I'm quite fast speaking, and so if I'm going really fast, please ping take take send a heads ups in the chat. Um, okay, let's start. Is my audio okay? Is everyone listening? Is that working? Cool. So this talk is about how to create your own streaming torrent client with Python, of course, for learning purposes. Before starting, I was just to mention today, Marcos Munstock died. So farewell. This guy was part of the Les Lelutier. That was an Argentinian comedian group, a really good one. And the reason I'm mentioning is for the Python community in there, this group is quite important. So I would say if Guido van Rossum was Argentinian, we will be all coding in Luthier because I think Le Luthier was a really nice equivalent for Monty Pythons. So farewell, Marcos. We will miss you. Then a bit about me. I already have a really nice introduction for life. But so I'm Nico. Everyone knows me as Gilgamesh, also Gilgamesh. I'm from Venado Tuerto. Is that place in the map. I added the map because so we're in Europe. Europe is small. So when I'm saying I'm from a town, it's not 10 minutes. So it's 5 hours or 4 hours and a half by car. And that's if you compare with Europe, it's like from Amsterdam to Paris. So to give you an idea. So that's a small place in the center of Argentina. And as Liza already said, I am a member of the Python Argentina community, and I'm currently also a member of the Pi Amsterdam. We are hosting a meetup here in Amsterdam. In the last month, we are hosting that meetup online. If you want to participate there as a speaker, or if you want to join the meetup, just go to the website. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Amsterdam time, it's 1 hour difference with Dublin. We have a meetup. And then a disclaimer. So first of all, this talk is a rehash of a talk I gave with Felipe in 2014. So I had to translate the slides, read the code, and I did a fast version of this one in Python 3 because I wanted to force myself to learn how it works. So probably, if if you read the code that you wrote, like probably I don't know 6 months ago, a year ago, you say, oh, who wrote this thing? It's horrible. So thinking myself reading a code I wrote 6 years ago, that was my feeling. So I don't want to have a philosophical discussion about torrent or piracy. I want to discuss more the tech part. It's a part that is a lot of fun for me. And in particular, I think that torrent will be an amazing tool for video on demand using open source software. So that's the idea. We can share a beer and talk about the philosophical part, or I'm happy to do that if you want. So let's start first with an introduction. So sorry if you're an expert in torrent, maybe it's going to be not new for you, but I wanted to have everyone in the same channel. So what's a BitTorrent? BitTorrent is a decentralized protocol for file sharing. It's a well known as peer-to-peer, P2P. In this protocol, each client is a peer that connects to a tracker. A tracker is a server that you can connect, and in that tracker you can find other peers, and then from those other peers you can download parts, chunks, pieces of a torrent that you want to download. So it's like you can go to a place and then you can interchange things with your friends. Um, if you want to create a file, a torrent file to share, so you want to share a picture or a zip file or a video or whatever you want to share, you have to create a torrent file. And in that file, you will put all the information for other peers to be able to download your file. So that's the most important part is the hash value. Of course, you have the size, the file name, the IP address of a tracker. So the tracker is like the place that you can go to find other peers, and the size of the pieces. There is for sure more data, but that's basically what's there. And then a torrent is a file, but that file you need to download it from the internet. And there is a different version. There is a magnet link, and a magnet link is a URL. So it's a URI that you can just send that in a message or or in an email, or you can have the link in the internet. So you don't need to store the file or to download it. So that's really good because you don't need a centralized server where you need to put all the files and download those files. So with a magnet, you can get all the information to ask the other peers the data to download the torrent, so they can give you the torrent. And then each torrent has a unique 20-byte SHA identifier, so that's quite important because that's what we use to find a particular file. Then other part of the torrent is a peer. So a peer is a client, it's you, but technically a peer is an instance of a BitTorrent client. So then a peer can upload or download data, it can send or receive data. It's not only uploading and downloading, it also can send metadata. And for peers, you can see we have some slang. So you have like seeders and leechers. A seed is a peer with 100% of the pieces. And then a leech is a peer with less than 100. So a seed is usually the name seed is because probably the first one, but it could be also more. And finally, I already named it, you have the tracker. So the tracker is a place that you connect, is the place that you go to get the initial list of other peers that are sharing the same file. So when you connect to a tracker, you announce in that tracker that you are ready to interchange a torrent, and you are also announcing which pieces you have for that one. So I'm a seeder, or I have only 10 pieces, I have none, or I have half, etc. And the tracker is the entry point to a swarm. So a swarm is the torrent community. It's a community of peers that are interchanging files. And the tracker is your key to go there. It's like someone telling you the secret name of a secret place for a party. In the last years, it's possible to skip the tracker using DHT. That's a decentralized hash table. So basically, it's when you connect to a tracker, you ask the tracker for the list of peers for a particular file. And the DHT is a protocol that means that if you know one peer, you can ask that peer about the others, and it will give you the data. So then you don't need a tracker. So because if you see the torrent protocol, the tracker is the central point of failure. So if you kill the tracker, then there is no sharing. And then a piece. What's a piece? A piece is a chunk of a file. It's a small part for a file. So it's exchange unit of a torrent file. So when you are sharing, you are sending or receiving pieces. When you download a torrent file, or when you get a torrent file using a magnet, one of the things that you have there is all the pieces, the number of pieces, the size of those pieces, and also a show one of those pieces. Usually they have a common size of 64 kilobytes or 4 megabytes, and I already saw they have a show one for identifier. So cut to the chase. Let's start with the history. We have all the parts. We have a high level idea of what's Torrent doing. So let's try to move. Let's try to build our client to see how we can do it with Python. So first you need to get a magnet. So because I prefer magnets, I don't want to download the torrent file because I don't know, I don't trust other websites. I probably trust more the peers. So this slide is now from 2014. It's a new one. I did a quick search in the internet, and the most popular torrent tracker site seems to be this one. And of course, there is a library. So thank you, Harshanas. As you can see, this is a small screenshot of the README. It's quite trivial to use it. So you need an instance of this client, and then you search, and it will return to you a list of magnet links with some extra metadata. So then you have the magnet. That was easy. Next step is, okay, I have a magnet. How I download the torrent? So of course you can use existing torrent, yeah, but then we want to write our own. So with Python, you can use libtorrent. Libtorrent is a BitTorrent C++ implementation. I think it's the most common one. It's used by a lot of different clients. It has a focus on performance and usability. It has really good documentation. It's, for me, at the beginning, it was a bit harder because it's more in the C++ world documentation, but it's really good. They have really good data there. And it has a Python binding. So it's a C++ library, but we can use it from Python. That's awesome. So you have all the nice features of this fast library from Python. As I already say, it's easy to use, and you can use it in any operative system. You can run it in Windows or Linux or Macintosh, probably Android. I don't know. I'm sure there is a version there. I wrote this small example to show you how easy it is to load. So it's like less than 10 lines. Yeah, with the spaces is 13. So I wrote this function to load. So you receive a magnet, then you prepare some parameters. To be honest, the line 7 we can remove that one because in the past it was not the default, but now it's the default for the library. So it's a line that we can remove. That's the storage mode. That means that how the libtorrent is going to reserve the space in your disk. So in the sparse mode, it's going the file is going to be growing, and if in the other mode, it's going to reserve, like if you're going to download a 1 gigabit file, it's going to reserve a full gigabit, and then it will to be filling it. At the end, the URL, you have to create a session. So this libtorrent session. I want to explain now what's it. And then you have this add torrent function that you call with these parameters. So basically you say, I want to save the file in this path, and this is the magnet, and it will start downloading. The session, it has a loop that manages all the downloads. So you can add more than one torrent, and for each torrent that you add, it will return a handle to you. So with that handle, you will be able to check the status and to control, etc. And then in this example, I did a really single thing. It's like, okay, a while. If I'm not a seeder, so that means if I'm a seeder, that means I have the 100% of the file. So if I'm not a seeder, that means I'm still downloading. So if I'm not a seeder, I will print downloading. Yeah, that was easy. So I was saying a session is an instance of libtorrent. It has a main loop, so it has like an event loop, and you can add a lot of torrent, and it will take care of the download. For each one, you have a handle. That handle is important because you can use that to check what's the current status of your file. And inside the handle, you have a status that has a lot of information. So I will give you a few tips that with this small list, you can probably do a quick test like in IPython shell and then see what's happening. So in the handle, you have a status, and in the status, you have pieces. So in pieces, libtorrent is going to return to you a bit mask representing all the pieces with a state. So let's say our file has our torrent, it has 10 pieces. So it will be a bitmax of 10. And in each position, it will be true. The value will be true if the piece was downloaded. If so, you can check if piece in position 4. If that's true, that means that you downloaded that one. And then you have a get and set for priority in the handle. So you can change the priority for one piece in particular. That's quite important. I will explain later why. And in the status, you can also check the download queue. Download queue is not for different torrents. It's for the queues. It's for the queue for one torrent. So the libtorrent is adding pieces to the download queue, and you can query which ones are currently in download status. That's also really important. So I don't know. Sorry if the code is not really easy to see, but probably you can read it. But oh, sorry. So then this is an example of I was saying. So you can query, give me the download queue, and then for each piece, I will make a list of the ones I'm currently downloading. Then you can get the list of all the pieces. And what we are doing here is we are iterating the full list. And for each one, we say, okay, if piece, so if the piece is true, that means I already downloaded that one. I will put a numeral, a hash in green. If it is not true, I will put that one in red. So we know green ones, we already downloaded, red ones, we are downloading it. And then if my piece is in the listing of the downloading, I will put that one in yellow. So that means it's currently downloading. I'm also adding the priority here to the after the numeral. So that's quite easy to see. And what I'm showing it is because this bit mask is not easy to see, but in Python it was trivial to configure a, a, a download progress bar. There is some extra code here that is not so relevant, but then if server block is related with streaming, I will explain later what's that, but then it will put in blue if someone is requesting that part of the file. So the name of the function is the frag because it was a maybe I'm old enough to have experience with Windows 98 or 95, and you have the frag for your list, and with the small squares that were changing. So that's the reason for the name. But then what I wanted to show here is that with libtorrent, with really you have a really simple function to unload, and then this code I think is still probably too complex, and it has some Python 2 format somewhere, but it could be simpler. But then you can have like a visualization, like a representation of what you are doing. So let's talk now about strategy. Um, I will explain first what's the PS speaker, and then I will say why this thing is really important and why the priority is important. So the PS speaker is a component of the libtorrent who manage which pieces are going to be in the download queue. So it has a queue, and it is telling, okay, I want to download the piece number 5, I want to download the piece number 10, etc. And it has a strategy to pick which one is going to be next in the download queue. That strategy by default is the rare first. So the rarest piece in the whole file in the swarm, so the piece that no one has or maybe only one person, that piece is going to have the highest priority. And in that way, Torrent is helping the swarm, is being friendly with the swarm. So we have all the pieces available full time. Because if I'm the only one with this as a seeder and I disconnect, maybe everyone has a part of my file, but then I disconnect and it's not possible to you to have the full thing. Um, then for each piece, you can have a priority from 1 to 7. 7 is the highest. And it's also possible to set a deadline. And with those both options, you can affect when the piece picker is going to add a piece to the download queue. And really important, this is not in the docs. If you set a deadline really, really low, it will download the file ASAP. So why this part is important? So in 2014, when I started this project, so this was like a 2 weekends of fun with a friend, and we were saying, oh, we can do this, and we started playing with that. I think popcorn was really popular. And then I found that this popcorn software was using a sequential way to download. So why? Because I was saying at the beginning that I wanted to do video on demand with torrent. So that means that we are going to download the torrent and watch it at the same time. That means that if you use the rare first, the most common thing that is going to happen, let's say, I don't know, Python Ireland is publishing a torrent with the meetup video, and everyone in the internet wants to watch that video because it's really popular. Then, if you use the sequential download, that means that everyone is going to start watching the video, and everyone is going to have the first part. But then, if I am the only seeder, and then at the half of the video I disconnect, no one is going to have the last part, and then no one is going to see the end of the history or the end of this talk, and that's really bad. So that means that this popcorn was not being friendly with the community, and you need to find a way to be friendly but still have the option to watch the video, because if I use only the rare first, then my libtorrent is probably going to download first the last part because it's the less common part, and then I need to wait. And you know, to be honest, internet is quite fast now, but probably not a lot of time. But let's see, we have a 4K version of 10 gigabytes, so you will need to wait a lot. So this video, I know, can you see the video? Is that working? Cool. So this is example how the strategy for Touch and Go was working. So it is trying to download the first 4 pieces, setting the priority to 7, so the highest priority. And then if you are watching a video and you need to stream that video using HTTP, for a video you need a thing that name is move, is MOOV. That's basically an index. So a video is frames. So it's a lot of pictures with an index. And your player, if you use VLC or any player, it needs this index to be able to reproduce the video. And there is 2 options to have this index. You can have the whole file, and then yes, you know, this I have all the frames. Or the other option is that you have the index and you say, okay, I can start playing this frame. This is the first frame, and this is the speed I need to play these frames. And usually, if the video is prepared to be played, to be streamed in the internet, this index is in the first part of the file. So you can download that part. Then, after having that part, you can start your player. That's usually a few seconds. So if I go back, you will see at some point the name of the video appear here. So in that moment, it means that the index is ready to use. Sometimes the video is not prepared to be streamed in the internet. That means that the index is in the last part of the video. And that's really bad news, because then that means that you need to download the full file. I think it's really common that you go to a website with a video, you click play, and then you need to wait for the video to load to start watching it. That means that the index is at the end. So what I did that time in Touch and Go is, okay, let's download the first part, check for the index. If the index is not there, you can check you can download the last part of the video, and then like a binary search until you find the index. And then once you have the index, you can start playing the video. Oh, sorry, it wasn't paused. So for me, that was quite important. And I think it has a few reasons. First is you are being friendly with the community, with the swarm. you are still watching your video, so that's you are doing what you are enjoying. And if you use the rare first, and we are I don't know. I think the best example is like what's video on demand now. It's like this big company HBO. They were trying to play Game of Thrones, and one day, and the online version was crashing every day. Everyone was complaining in the internet because it was a centralized thing. For torrent, it's the other way around. If you have like 1 trillion of users, that's better for you. And then if your users are having a friendly configuration, then you will have availability for all the pieces for the whole video. So if I connect and then I disconnect, other users are going to have the other part. So here you can see that is downloaded pieces from random places. That means that it's in rare first. But still, the part that we are watching that has more priority. So priority 7 here, or 3, 1. So you can fine tune the priority and still use the rare first. So you can be friendly with the community and still watch your video. That's at the end what we want to do. So that I think that's the hardest part. So the streaming about seem hard, but it's not so hard. So as I was saying, I think it would be a really good idea. Probably it's not easy to implement because yes, I know maybe you need to pay for your videos because you need to pay to the actors, etc. But then, as I was saying, if you release a video in streaming in a BitTorrent and you have 1 trillion users, that's amazing because your video will have a really high availability. I don't know, maybe if the video is too big, we are going to break the internet, but that's not a problem. But how we solve that in our local client, in our personal torrent client? So you just need to have a HTTP server, and your file is in your disk, and you just need to say to this server, okay, please, I want to serve this file in a HTTP protocol, and then you start your player and you tell, okay, go to localhost this port, and you have a video here. In Python, you have the simple HTTP server. Probably, I would say, with new version of Python 3.8, probably I will go for async IO, but okay, this is all. And this screenshot, I think, is still Python 2. So I will push a branch that I did in the weekend that is working with Python 3. But the idea is there is with simple HTTP server, what I wanted to show here is that you only need to write the get function. And in that get function, you need to know which part of the video you need to provide to the player, and the player is telling you, so there is interaction there. And I'm not showing it here, but there is a lot of really, really interesting things to play when you are doing streaming. So if I move back a bit to this screenshot, we were able to tweak the server so to be able to move forward in the video. So if you click in the middle of the video, then the player is going to request a different part of the file because the player knows it has the index for the file. So it will tell you, okay, I want this byte, this part. And then in your server, because the user is requesting that, the player is requesting that part, you can change the priority for those pieces to the highest one. So the user can play in the middle of the video on the player. You can change the priority, wait a few seconds, and it will start playing there because the priority for those pieces is going to be higher. So in TouchAndGo, I remember we did some improvements there. I'm sure there is a lot more to do, and it was a lot of fun for me because it's like, I don't know, when you are using video and these things, it's nice that you can see what you are working on. Okay, then next step, subtitles. Yeah, so I watch usually watch TV shows using subtitles. So there is 2 libraries in Python: Subliminal, that is to download subtitles, and then Guess It. Guess It, you can use it to get data, metadata from the file name. like season 1, episode 10. And then if you extract the data, we guess it, and you provide that to Subliminal, like in this example, then Subliminal has this download best subtitle, and that's all you need. It's like, give me the best subtitle for this video, and it will download and save the subtitle in the same path that your video, with of course with a different extension. So you will have in the same file path your video and your subtitle, and you already have a HTTP server serving the video there. So that's really cool. So then to finish, the only thing that you need is to put all the parts together. So I think a good example for that is TouchAndGo. Sorry, a disclaimer, TouchAndGo, I know in English has a meaning, but the name was quite as a joke in Spanish. So TouchAndGo means like you need to do a literal translation to understand what is meaning in Spanish. It's like a fast thing. It's like I touch and then I move to the next part. I think that was the idea. So in 2004, we did this project. It's in this GitHub repo. I'm going to push later a branch, Python 3 working, so you can test it and it's going to work. You only need to have VLC and etc. PP start TouchAndGo. Not sure is that going to work because it was Python 2. Yeah, I don't remember, to be honest. In that time we were using, I don't know, some libraries that are not working anymore. So you can use the branch I'm going to share later. And yeah, that's all. So for me, this is the most important slide of this talk. So the torrent technology is really, really nice. It's a lot of fun. You can learn a lot because there's different technologies. So I think that's really good. But for me, this talk is a really good example of the most important Python piece. So why Python is such a nice language is because the community. And as you can see, more than half of the work was already done. I just was like using glue to put all the parts together. And maybe, yes, learning and reading docs, but the most important part, so I didn't have to do a Python implementation of the BitTorrent protocol or a thing to download subtitles. So I didn't have to learn how to use the API for this weird website in the internet. So for me, this is a really nice example of why Python is so awesome. I think Haley is going to talk probably about satellites. And I worked in the past in a satellite company. I was writing code that I was running in the space. I wrote a project to track satellites with Python. That software is running in satellites currently. And I did that. I didn't finish the university. I don't have a degree. Uh, I'm not a mathematician or anything. And because of Python, it was possible for me to achieve that. So I think that's awesome. Okay, that was all. And I'm listening for questions now.
That was so cool. Thank you so much.
And 40 minutes, that was almost there.
I could not tell that was your first talk. You did amazingly. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Now, anyone has questions, because I have a couple. If no one is coming forward. So Ben has a question there for you,
Yeah,
Nico.
so is there a guide?
Is there a guide for newbies on how to implement it?
So I can share my slides and you have the repo for TouchAndGo. I think that would be good enough. Before we finish the meetup, I will share a branch with the Python 3 working version, so you can play with that. Disclaimer: that code is old; it doesn't have tests, so I don't like some parts, but it's easy to read, and I think that's a really good starting point.
Well, so if the newbie wants then to start doing some stuff on testing, that's a great opportunity for open sourcing, isn't it?
For sure. Yeah, and I'm happy to answer questions. You have my email and my Twitter. There, you can also find me with that handle, Gilgamesh, in Telegram or Freenode. So just ping me. I'm happy to help.
Do you want to have a
Uh,
Python sprint on it?
to be honest, this library is not maintained now, so I don't know. I, I want to have a Python sprint, so we were planning to have to we were planning for PyCamp with some friends. This thing doesn't. I was trying to put our right here. Okay, I was planning to be next week in PyCamp. That is a Python event for developers to spend some days, 4 days hacking. And my idea was to work in the DHT protocol, so the decentralized hash table, because I have this crazy idea that we can have like a database in the swarm, and then you don't need a central server when you're sharing files. I would like to work on that. In Touch and Go, I think there is a lot of, it's nice to learn. Then there is a lot of issues because a lot of users are using this software to download illegal videos from the internet. So probably not the best project to be working on. You're going to receive some emails. So yeah, I don't want to keep working in this project, but I would like to work in some hacking things with DHT.
Cool, cool. So that's a project then. So I have a question for you. So you're talking about the Sublimio. Is that the name of the library that you're using for
Mm-hmm.
the perfect? So there is a line of code there that says so downloading the best subtitle, right? So choosing the best subtitle to download it,
Mm-hmm.
to put it on the folder to implement it to your video. So what is the criteria for the best subtitle? Because like I used to download my subtitles for Torrent like manually. I would just like take the name of the file and show it on the browser and see what comes back to me. But then I would have to test all of them, and most of them would be out of sync or would have like wouldn't be that much of a great subtitle or something like that. So how does
So
Sublimio actually test it?
Subliminal is just amazing. So Subliminal has a database.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it doesn't have a database. It knows how to talk with the subtitle websites, like open subtitles. I think that's the most
Okay.
popular. And then
Yeah.
it knows how to send to this website all the metadata from your video, and it will find the best match with your file. And that's the reason why the other library, so guess it, this one, sorry, I know my keyboard is quite noisy. Guess it, that one is a really good match with Subliminal, because if you just put the name of the file, Subliminal is not going to give you a good result. But then Guess It is getting all, the videos, they have this, there is a convention in the internet that you have the name of the TV show, season 2, episode 4, and there is some weird letters there. Guess It knows how to understand that part, and it will put that in a structured way. And then if you provide that information to Subliminal, it will find the subtitle that has the best match with your file. And how they do that? That's the open subtitle is doing that. So for each subtitle, they have metadata stored in the database. So and that's one of the providers. That's the one I know more. But there is, I don't know, in Spanish you have a SubDivX, for example, that's really good for Spanish subtitles. So it depends, but then it's not the library. So the library knows how to talk with the API, but then in the website you have a lot of metadata related, and it's really important to use Guess It, because then you have. For me, my experience is like in the code, I I call this function and then I get the first one. I don't check because I know it's going to be good. It's, it's like a 99% of the time is good.
Okay, cool. Cool. Well, thank you.
I
Thanks
can
a
share.
million.
I have an alias in my computer. So sorry. So I have this alias in my computer that I used to download. So I'm sharing that. All panelists and attendees. Yes. So I use that command in my shell to download subtitle. So then I have that alias and I add sub space the name of the video, and subliminal would download the subtitle for that video for you. So,
Okay. Yeah, I know. I was talking about fades today on Midbit so yeah,
nice.
cool.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you. Thank you. It was awesome. Wonderful. Now I will put up the link for the lightning talks for who is interested in giving a talk later on. And then do you reckon we need a break, or shall we go straight to the track 2? How are you feeling, guys?
I think maybe a toilet break, because we have been sitting through already like 45 minutes. If you're drinking a lot, or if you have beer at home, I think it's time for you to go to the loo. And we can give like some time to another speaker to maybe check the tech and see if this sharing screen works and everything works. So yeah.
Perfect. So perfect. So I give you guys 3 minutes then. Run.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Perfect. So we're back at 10 to 8 then with Dr. Haley Evers-King. Perfect. Wonderful. Now, Haley, would you like to test your screen with me? Perfect. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. No problem at all. Take care.